just say superintendent. All right, board members. All right, good evening. I'm going to call our Monday, August 27th regular school board meeting to order. Please rise for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. Board members, at this time, do we have any changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda? Superintendent, I know you have some.
I do. I have a few. First, we're going to pull item 8.01 for no action. And then I have provided you 2 emergency items or items worthy of just cause based on time. Those are in your packets. One is a service for purchase by charter schools and the related fee schedule. So the two, while they're separate documents, they actually go together. And then item 8.05, per the School Board of Brevard County, this was for an item for cafeteria paper products. The fiscal impact was revised to read not to exceed $650,000.
Okay, board members? Everybody good? Okay, perfect.
Audit. I wanted to pull a couple items. The 8.05, just for discussion momentarily, and 8.09. No, 8.09 is not.
No?
No. It was the 8.12.
8.05 and 8.12. Okay. Okay, seeing no further, we are at the approval of the minutes.
I recommend approval of the minutes from the School Board Workshop, July 19th, 2018, the regular school board meeting, July 23rd, 2018, the special school board meeting, July 30th, 2018, and special school board meeting public hearing on July 30th, 2018.
You've heard the superintendent?
So move.
Second.
I think that was all 3 of you. We'll give it to Mr. Gamble. All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Thank you very much. We are at representation. The superintendent is going to kick us off with something special this evening.
We do. As Ms. Owens comes forward, this is a project that she and her staff have been working on. And this is a district video just highlighting our school district, some of the things that we would like for the public to be aware of as we continue to show that we are a great choice for students and promote our work here in Lake County. The video is about 6 minutes long, a little bit over 6 minutes. The intent was that we would have this video that could be used at some of our job fairs as we recruit folks to the area, as well as breaking it into some smaller social media segments to highlight different aspects of the district. So you're going to watch it in its entirety, just knowing that it will be broken down into smaller clips based on the use of the video. So something that we can easily edit as we continue to excel and do great things here. And so I'll turn it over to Sherry. So enjoy.
Just a short drive from Florida's coastal beaches and popular theme parks is Lake County, a community rich in natural beauty and historical significance. Appropriately named for its many lakes, the county built an economy on its weather and land through farming, citrus, and lumber. It has grown exponentially over the years, attracting new enterprises and residents, drawn by the small town charm, complemented by big city healthcare, amenities, and conveniences. Our early residents enriched the community and raised their families here, many of whom were educated in Lake County's public schools. Today, the district has about 43,000 students spread across the county. It is made up of 20 elementary schools, 10 middle schools, 8 high schools, an exceptional student center, an early learning center, a K-12 virtual school, and 9 charter schools, including a technical college. Each school is committed to the district's mission of providing students with individual opportunities to excel. That means offering varied learning paths tailored to meet each student's individual needs and interests.
Regardless of a pathway that a student chooses to take, our mission is to ensure that every student graduates ready for college and or the workforce, so that we can ensure that every student becomes the person that businesses will want to hire for jobs of today as well as for jobs yet to be created.
Eligible students who seek high-level educational challenges can find their path through Lake County Schools' many advanced placement courses, gifted enhancement programs, and ACE, the esteemed Cambridge Advanced International Certificate of Education. They can also choose dual enrollment programs, such as the one offered through the Health Sciences Collegiate Academy. This program gives high school students the opportunity to explore health-related careers through hands-on activities and early exposure to college courses. It is a unique partnership among Lake County Schools, Lake Sumter State College, South Lake Hospital, the University of Central Florida, and Montverde Academy.
This program is not like any other. I think this program itself has not only put me on an accelerated pace within high school, but it's also just given me the opportunity to work hands-on and to get different experiences and observations within the medical field that will sort of open my horizons. And on top of it, not only will I be graduating with my associates, I'll also be meeting all of my prerequisites.
At every middle and high school, teams of students are involved with AVID, Advancement via Individual Determination, a global nonprofit organization that operates with one guiding principle: hold students accountable to the highest standards, provide academic and social support, and they will rise to the challenge. AVID's research-based curriculum and strategies ensure students develop critical thinking and literacy and math skills across all content areas. Just one more important pathway to success for Lake County students.
Avid is a program designed for middle-of-the-road students that have the ability to be in all advanced classes with the goal to be college-bound and have a career. A student with maybe BCs, but they really have the ability and the drive to be successful in advanced courses, and maybe they're slipping between the cracks and they can be more than what they're achieving.
I decided to take this class as an elective because it was something I was very interested in. It helped me with math because I struggle very much. It helped me understand people's point of view and to really state my opinion. AVID is preparing you for college and to get you on that next level thinking.
Many other students find their path among the wide variety of career and technical education programs offered by Lake County Schools. Through career and technical education, CTE students are immersed in relevant and engaging learning environments, which culminate in the opportunity to earn industry certifications that lead to high-demand, high-wage jobs. Local business partners provide real-life learning experiences by offering student internships and teacher externships, giving tours of their facilities, serving as guest speakers in the classroom, and by lending their professional knowledge as members of a CTE advisory board. Students learn within an area of interest, which makes the learning more applicable to their future goals.
We know that not every student is going to go to college. And whether they choose to or not, every middle and high school in Lake County offers a variety of career and technical education programs where students can earn skills and obtain industry certifications, preparing them for jobs.
Other paths include participation in our annual STEM Bowl, robotics competitions, science fairs, exploration of the arts, foreign languages, athletics competitions, community volunteering, field trips, clubs, and special events. The possibilities are endless. We're a dynamic, progressive, and collaborative learning community. We believe in a rigorous, relevant, and engaging classroom where students read, write, think, and talk through every lesson every day. Read, write, think, and talk. It has become a mantra for the district and has helped to steer our efforts toward meaningful and focused instructional reform. Seat work and lecturing are a thing of the past, as our new standards demand that students work collaboratively, communicate using multiple forms of media, and problem solve at high levels.
So when we think about having students problem solve and communicate effectively, we want to provide experiences that have sort of been coined as authentic literacy experiences. And these experiences are activities that replicate or reflect reading and writing in what would happen in the lives of people outside of the context of school. So if it can't occur in real life, it's probably not authentic. So going back to maybe when we were in school and we used to do book reports. So we would coin book reports now as doing school. And yet if we ask students to do a book review, you could look up on Amazon right now and look up a book and read the review. So we're trying to create more authentic experiences for kids in terms of what they would see in real life.
We have an obligation to engage students in a learning environment that promotes the development of 21st century skills. We have worked diligently to increase student access to various technologies and have invested in infrastructure and devices, supported through the implementation of meaningful curriculum to work towards this goal. Devices have been and continue to be deployed to schools, with device selection focusing on the instructional use. The use of Chromebooks has allowed students to enter the world of collaborative writing through document sharing that exists through the Google Productivity Suite.
So one of the things that's amazing about the Google Apps for Education is that it logs almost everything that a student does. And in logging everything that a student does, it provides you access as a teacher to something known as version history. In version history, you can see exactly which students collaborated and contributed which piece of the work. One of the other applications as part of the Google Suite is Google Classroom, which really does provide for that teacher efficiency piece of being able to exchange assignments quickly. The student goes in and highlights it, maps their thinking, and then we can go back in as a teacher, and instead of having to go through piles of paper, a couple of clicks, and then all of a sudden you can see exactly how a student executed the lesson. I think it creates an environment where people are excited to teach and learn.
We are proud of where we are today and are excited about where we're headed. Lake County Schools is primed to become a destination district, a place where parents, teachers, and students are driven to contribute to our dynamic educational ecosystem.
When I began as a superintendent here in Lake County Schools, I recognized in our teachers and our classrooms the great things that we have to provide each student. And I knew that we could, and I know that we will, become a destination district, a place where everybody wants to be.
We invite, encourage, and welcome our families and community to become a partner in our mission. Join us as we transform education and impact students' lives.
As we continue to work together, I know that we can become a top-performing school district in the state of Florida, signified by all the things that make us that great place, where all of our schools are rated A's and B's. We have graduation rates of 90% or higher. We have very low teacher turnover rates, and all the things that we know will create better learning environments in the great place, the destination for every child.
We are Lake County Schools, today's choice for tomorrow's future.
Thank Ms. Owens again. If you can imagine how much time that took working to get all of they ran all over the district for many weeks, collecting all of those shots and putting that together, and to Red Apple Media for supporting our efforts with that. So thank you.
That was excellent. Thank you very much for preparing that and for sharing it with us. Thank you very much, Mrs. Owens. It was awesome. So we are on our proclamation for our Attendance Awareness Month, which is now. This is Dr. Weisskopf.
Good evening, Superintendent, Madam Chair, and board members. It is with great pride that I announce September as National Attendance Awareness Month. Our regional social workers have worked really hard over the last 6 months getting this prepared and organized. We had a contest last spring, and Pine Ridge Elementary won the slogan for us in Lake County. It is Arrive, Strive, and Thrive. We presented them with a certificate a couple weeks ago. And I just wanted to let you know that we are planning a lot of events for this month. September 4th through 7th will be a big week for us in Lake County to celebrate attendance. And so I have the proclamation here, if you would give me a minute to read it, and then I'll let you sign it. So, whereas good attendance is essential to student achievement and graduation, and we are committed to dedicating our resources and attention to reducing chronic absenteeism rates with a focus starting as early as pre-kindergarten and kindergarten. Whereas chronic absence, missing 10% or more of school for any reason, including excused and unexcused absences, or just 2 or 3 days a month, is a proven predictor of academic difficulties and dropout rates. Whereas Lake County Schools has 7,116 of 42,771 students that are chronically absent. Whereas improving attendance and reducing chronic absence takes commitment, collaboration, and tailored approaches to particular challenges and strengths in each community. Whereas attendance gaps among groups of students often turn into achievement gaps that undermine student success, graduation rates, and future success. Whereas healthcare providers can share the importance of school attendance with families and can offer proactive, preventative care to reduce absences. Whereas schools and districts monitor attendance data and align appropriate interventions to reduce chronic absenteeism. Whereas all students, including those who attend regularly, are affected by chronic absence because teachers spend time with students who missed instruction. Whereas chronic absence can be significantly reduced when schools, families, and communities work together to monitor and promote good attendance and break down systemic barriers to regular school attendance. And whereas in partnership with Shared Services Network, Lake County Sheriff's Department, Kids Central, Inc., Lake County State Attorney's Office, Department of Juvenile Justice, and Lake County Health Department, now, therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of Lake County Schools does hereby proclaim September 2018 as Attendance Awareness Month in all of the public schools of Lake County and calls upon school administrators, teachers, students, and citizens of Lake County to recognize and support this action and to participate throughout the month of September in celebration of Attendance Awareness Month. Our school district will stand with the nation in recognizing September as Attendance Awareness Month. We hereby commit to focusing on reducing chronic absenteeism to give all children an equitable opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive academically, emotionally, and socially. In testimony whereof, the School Board of Lake County, Florida, has hereunto subscribed their names and have caused the official seal of Lake County School Board to be hereunto affixed on this 27th day of August 2018. A copy of this proclamation is hereby placed in the archive record of this board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Superintendent.
No,
We don't have to vote on that. Nope.
So we do not need to vote on that.
Perfect. So we're on 4.02. I think you have an introduction to make.
I do. I'm very pleased tonight to welcome a special guest. Board Member Matthias and I had an opportunity a few months ago to meet with Ms. Barb Bergen. She's the Executive Director of Central Florida Crime Line, and she is here tonight and was going to tell us a little bit about what she brings to us and the great opportunity this is for us as a school district and schools as we promote student safety. And so I welcome tonight and thank you for being here to give us an overview of what you have to offer.
Thank you, Superintendent, and thank you to the board and the opportunity to speak to you all. Allow me to give you a little history about what we do and why we are in place as we are. Crime Line has been around for 41 plus years. We are the anonymous tip line for Central Florida. We offer rewards, but more importantly, the number one thing is anonymity. We are recognized in North America currently as one of the top 5 Crime Stopper programs, and that includes taking more tips right now than Atlanta, sometimes LA, frequently Toronto, who has 8 million people, and we service 2.9 million. So it speaks volumes to what we do. For 41 years, we have promised anonymity, we have paid our rewards, and we do what we say we're going to do on a daily basis. I'll take you back 22 years ago. An unfortunate situation happened right here in Tavares at a middle school where a student was shot. Following that incident and during that investigation, they determined that there were kids who knew about the problem before the shooting happened and who were actually aware that there was a gun on campus that day. Through that investigation and following the public outcry, how can this happen, what do we do, the Orlando Magic and many community members stepped up and said, we need to form a campus program exactly like Crime Line, so that we can take tips and help make our school campuses safer. So 22 years ago, a program called Speak Out Hotline was formed. Initially, it had a different phone number than Crime Line, and we did not provide rewards for the kids. But anonymity was the number one reason for existence, to give students the opportunity when they weren't comfortable going to an adult or going to an administrator or someone of authority to provide information. Fast forward to where we're at today. We have now gone to using the same phone number as we use for Crime Line. So the same number, kids grow up with it now. They know it in elementary, middle school, high school, college, all the way into our adult years. It's the exact same phone number. We do use this a different name. We're still using Speak Out Hotline. Anonymity is the number one guarantee that we provide to the students. A couple of years ago, our board of directors, we're a nonprofit, agreed that we should start considering rewards. Trust me when I say these are small rewards. We understand that we have to look at who we're giving these rewards to. So we come up with rewards in the range of $25 to $100. It might surprise you to know that in the past 3 years it's been that we've offered rewards. We've had one collected by a student, which speaks volumes to the anonymity again. We have that same situation on the adult side. Rewards are not what drive people to us. Anonymity is the number one purpose. We do this at no cost to the school district. We've been doing it for 22 years, and we will continue to do it. We are grant funded through the state of Florida through court fines. After what happened in February, there was a lot of initial outcry. There were changes in the state law. One of those changes is mandatory, a program available to all your students of anonymous tipping. We've already been here for 22 years, been doing it very well and very proudly, and we will continue to do that. It's necessary, though, because there are kids who won't tell parents about situations, who aren't comfortable reporting potential suicides or bullying situations or guns on school campuses and things of that nature. So we're here to tell you that we will support you 100%. We provide, again, at no cost, all the promotional items. Thanks to the superintendent, we've already been to the SRO meeting. We have provided them with posters and other promotional items that have gone out. We met the other day with the superintendent's staff. We discussed how we get it out digitally and in the eyes, in front of the parents and the teachers as well as the administrators. They need to know about the program. So we're moving in that direction. I believe we've already moved in that direction from what I've been seeing. Our relationship with the school district and with local law enforcement is a phone call away. We have protocols in place where if we take a tip tonight at 8 o'clock and it's about the well-being of one of your students, we are reactive 24 hours a day. We have eyes on our tips by our call center. They're monitoring our tips every 15 minutes. So if a student were to use the app or a web browser or call in and say, I'm worried about my friend, they made some statements today that concern me, that tip is going to be managed now, not tomorrow morning when the SROs and everybody shows up at school. So 24 hours, 24/7, 365, we are monitoring what the kids are giving us. We're very proud to say that we're using a new software. It's called P3 Campus. It's something that we've marketed through all of our tools, and the school superintendent has agreed to help us with this. This is state-of-the-art anonymous tipping software. They can either call in, they can go to a web browser and give the tip, or they can download the free app and give our tips right there to us. The beautiful thing about this is, A, they're still anonymous, but more importantly, we're able to interact with them quickly. We can immediately ask them questions if they haven't given us enough information. And that has happened in many occasions, which has led to a positive resolution of a tip. It also comes in multiple languages, so with the click of a button, they can download it to their native language. We can translate it and answer back in their native language if we have additional questions for them. Other than that, I just want you to know that we are here to do what the laws requiring you have in place for Lake County. We've been doing it for a very long time, and we're proud to stand next to the Lake County School District. Appreciate the time that the superintendent has given us, and if there's anything else that we can do for Lake County, we're here to do that. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Just please know that we're a phone call away for all of you.
Thank you, Ms. Bergen, very much for coming this evening and for what you do. All right, Dr. Weisskopf, I believe, I never know if you're going to follow it. I believe you're up against for some STEM school recognition. Are you going to introduce your people, or you want me to introduce them? Mrs. Cockcroft, thank you very much.
Good evening, Superintendent Cornegie, board members. Thank you so much for allowing us this opportunity tonight to recognize our 2017-18 STEM or STEAM schools. I would like to invite up the program specialists. Tracy Wood, K-5 Math Program Specialist, Kelly Dodd, K-5 Science Program Specialist, and 612 Science Program Specialist is Sonia Blackstrom. So.
Hello, we are thrilled to present the 2017-2018 STEM and STEAM schools and to celebrate the hours and hours of hard work that goes into this initiative directly benefiting our students. To become a STEM school for elementary, there are 6 parts to their portfolio. One of them is a PLC, a professional learning community that is school-based. Secondly, they have problem-based learning experiences, which are STEM lessons happening for each grade level. Then we have our STEAM Bowl practice documentation, participation in the STEAM Bowl, the school and district elementary science and engineering fair, and hosting a STEAM or STEM night on campus. All right. So when we call your name, we would love for you to come up and receive your plaque. Once you are finished and once we're all finished, we'd love to go out into the rotunda where Miss Owens would take our picture, okay? I'm going to start with the Silver STEM School. This school is his very first year submitting a portfolio, and we would love to recognize Pinecrest Lakes Academy. All right, now we're going to go into our gold schools. We have Claremont Elementary, Cypress Ridge Elementary, Eustis Elementary, Eustis Heights Elementary, Fruitland Park Elementary, Groveland Elementary School, Leesburg Elementary, Mineola Elementary Charter School, You may notice there are a lot of people coming up to receive this award, and it just shows how many hands are engaged in this process, and we appreciate all of you. Pine Ridge Elementary School, Rhymes Early Learning and Literacy Center, Brown Lake Charter School, Sawgrass Bay Elementary School, Seminole Springs Elementary School, Sorrento Elementary. Treadway Elementary. Triangle Elementary. And Umatilla Elementary.
Okay, now we're going to present our STEM schools for middle and high school. The requirements for the middle and high schools are a little bit different. They had to participate in a STEM-related competition. Some of them did Math Olympics, some did STEAM Bowl. They had to have a STEM practice team. They also had to have a school science fair and participate in the regional science fair. They had to have a STEM family night where they have students engaging in hands-on activities, and they also have to have a certain amount of STEM-related lessons going on in their school.
Just Blackstone, hold on 1 second, really quickly. I know you guys are leaving. I just wanted to say congratulations. They were kind of like, do we stay up here or do we leave? And so we appreciate all of the hard work that we know goes into that. So, and I know you're right in the middle of the middle school one. So if you guys hang out there, because middle school will join you for a picture. Thank you.
We're going to have to get a bigger meeting place.
I know. All right, sorry, Mrs. Blackstone.
Oh, that's okay. All right, so for middle school, we have 3 middle schools who all receive the Gold STEM School Award. We have Oak Park Middle School. Windy Hill Middle School. We have Imagine South Lake Charter School. And for our high school, Gold STEM School is South Lake High School.
Yeah, they can wait till the next group. The following schools embedded art into 50% or more of their grade-specific STEM lessons, and as a result, they earned the STEAM School Award. Astatula Elementary. Grassy Lake Elementary. Imagine South Lake Charter Elementary. Lost Lake Elementary School. And Tavares Elementary School.
There for Tavares. Okay. All right.
Excuse me.
Okay, We want to thank all of you, especially for those of you that have the STEAM program now. I know we're all moving that way, and that was pretty interesting and fitting. Of course, that the elementary schools would do that, but thank you all very much for your hard work. If you don't mind, rather than having you guys come up here, we're just going to come down and shake your hand. Since you guys remained, we're going to do that for you.
We're going to reward you.
Should we go out to the rotunda?
Should do a walk. This is where I see it. I'm like, you're confusing me. This is my glasses. I'm like, this is my glasses. Where's she going?
I have to share this with you guys since they're gone, but I'm going to tell you guys that my husband is a huge NASCAR fan. This will not come as any surprise to Mr. Bordenkircher. I do not like NASCAR. You guys are thinking, what is she talking about? This is not on the agenda, but he was watching NASCAR in the driveway on Sunday morning about 10 years ago, and he was talking about the point system, and he was explaining to me how when they get to a certain point, then they all go back to zero, and they have to earn points to win. And that is where I came up with the idea for STEM school. I'm like, we should have like a point system where schools can get points for doing these science, math activities, and we should have like a NASCAR cup. So thank you, NASCAR, and thank you to Jimmy Luke. Super, super good stuff. At this time, we only have one public, oh, yes, Dr. Burns, please.
Could I please pull 8.07?
Oh, sure. Actually, it's funny that you say that because Dr. Tibbetts is our only public speaker this evening. He's put in input, and he has wished to address 8.07, 10.01, and 10.09. So he always makes it a challenge to pull the items that people discuss. So I was going to give you the opportunity at the end of his discussion if you would like to pull 8.07, 10.01, or 10.09 based on his comments. You're free to. So we will go ahead and pull 8.07, and Dr. Tibbetts, you are up, and board members, let me know if you'd like to pull those additionally.
Madam Chairman, Superintendent Cornegay, board members, just to share with you some thoughts. And I'll pick up where Dr. Weiskopf left off about attendance. And in my experience in 3 years, chronic absenteeism can be related to the students who are failing in our schools. It's so chronic and outrageous that parents post on Facebook pictures of the kids at the county fair instead of at school. Oh, at Disney with their cousins who are visiting, here, there, and elsewhere. And we know who these parents are. It's time to do something about it. We have the wherewithal to deal with truancy. It's just going to take a little nerve to do it. Speaking of attendance, I spent years being in charge of rules and regulations and looking at the student progression plan. I will tell you once again that the policy that says that 90% attendance is required to participate in graduation is flat out silly. If a student walks into the high school the last week of school, takes 5 AP exams and passes them, he's earned the right and met the requirements to graduate. To come up with a silly-ass 90% attendance thing is just beneath you. Get rid of it. 10.09, talking about literacy intervention. Let's not limit that to these really poorly performing schools. We need to be doing that in every single one of our elementary schools in particular. There are kids who need it everywhere, just not in the poor performing schools. Conditional promotion, 7th and 8th grade. I think it's great that we're promoting them and we're giving them a chance to recover, make them do it during the summer. If they flunk math, make them take care of it in the summertime. Don't carry it over into the next grade because that just keeps them a year behind. They need to be caught up when they start a new school year. Finally, regarding the grading and the redo approach, thank goodness. Finally, we're acknowledging if at first we don't succeed, try again. It's a wonderful change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tibbetts. Pulling 8.07. Is that everybody fine with that? Okay. And while we're making changes, Mr. Gamble has not asked for 8.05 to be pulled any longer. So I wanted you to be able to include that if you need to. Okay. All right. We are on the attorney's report. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, just one thing. I know y'all are filling out the evaluations for the superintendent. Actually, I already have one done. It's Mr. Mathias. He wins this year's non-monetary award.
But when did he do it? When did he do it?
He already had it before you emailed me, Sandy.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, man. You must not have got my email.
Anyway, I just wanted to point out something. There's possibly a little confusion on the form. I mean, fill out as much as you want of it, but at the end of every section, there's a rating section, a little rating line. You really don't need to fill that out because that's going to be computed from the average of your scores in each section. And after towards the back, where it says summary, the 5 categories of students are listed again. You don't have to fill that out the second time, or if you want to make sure you completed everything, but I'm going to calculate what those are from the first set of 5 factors for each of the student evaluation. It'd be nice to have them by September 1st, so that we wouldn't have to rush to put them together. They're going to, the compilation will be scheduled for the September 10th board meeting. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, sir. We have no unfinished business, and we have our consent agenda.
Recommend approval of items 8.02 to 8.06, 8.08 to 8.11, 8.13 to 10.12.
And do you want to include the emergency items in that as well?
We have to do those separate.
What's that?
We do those separate.
Oh, we can. We were told we didn't have to, so. All right, you guys have heard the superintendent's.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great. I know, right? I know.
Keep up.
Keeping you on your toes. So we will start with, it looks like 8.07. Dr. Burns.
So I wanted to at least acknowledge this because, well, it's definitely made an article in the newspaper already. This is the Social Sentinel program, and it's been described, and I've described it myself as Orwellian, because it is a program that seeks out keywords from social media sites in order to find either children who are in need because they may be ready to commit suicide, or children who are a threat to other children. And so I went to my meeting this week and I said, okay, convince me, because I think this is Orwellian and it's a little creepy. And I was convinced because this program has been used in other districts and it has been shown to save lives. And I think any program that actually has a track record of saving lives, especially children who are ready to harm themselves, is something that I think could be valuable to our county. So I just wanted to explain why I was voting for this somewhat odd program. So that's really all I had.
Board members, everybody good? All right, Superintendent.
Recommend approval of 8.07, the agreement with Social Sentinel.
You've heard?
So moved.
Second.
We'll give it to Mr. Dodd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. All right, we are in 8.12.
I asked for this to be pulled because this deals with 3 schools having renovations done, and this is dealing with some food service equipment. And I brought it in our meeting that we had. That I don't find this in the budget item, so they would have to come back to us at a later time with a budget revision. But the other thing I have is that we're replacing some of this equipment right now where we have some existing equipment in the kitchens that are in dire need of replacement, maybe ahead of some of this. I mean, we have some kitchens that don't have operating coolers and freezers and things, reach-ins and stuff that is needed every day. So I would suggest before we go too far into this, that we make sure the equipment that is needed behind the serving lines that's available there for the staff to use is up and running before we get ventured into something too far into this. The other thing I would ask is before this be finalized, that Mr. Mathias, being a kitchen man, as far as the equipment side and design, that this be presented to him to make sure that it is something that's feasible rather than we're just buying it. So that's my recommendation, and that's why I asked for it to be pulled. Because I have concerns. Last year we bought some things, changed some things out, and it didn't come before the board, and now it is coming before the board. And I think we would have made some changes possibly if it came here first. But other than that, I'm good. These 3 kitchens do need to have renovations done. I agree. But there's other kitchens out there that are just in dire need of just having their regular equipment repaired so that they can operate properly. So.
I know that there was conversation with both Mr. Carr and Linda Milliken about those items, some refrigerator issues and things. So I know that they're certainly in the planning stages to do that. I don't think it was that those were going to be held off in lieu of this item. So I think that they're addressing all of those issues. If I'm mistaken in that, I know you spoke with them more at length than I did. If there's concern of that, then we can pull the item and bring it back to you. Otherwise, we'll proceed with this one, and I'll make sure that those items are addressed.
Well, first of all, this is not any of a reproach or anything against Ms. Milliken, because this was actually prior to her coming. But I just think that this needs to be looked at before we proceed too far. I'm not saying not do this, but right now I'm not seeing everything in the budget that's going to allow this to happen without they doing a revision. So.
Would you like for the item to be pulled for no action and brought back, and that will give Mr. Mathias a chance to weigh in as well and take a look at what the plans are?
I think that would be great.
All right. I recommend that we pull item 8.12 and bring it back to you, hopefully at our next meeting.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Can't table that. And I'm pretty sure we are at our emergency items. We'll go there first before we get to the progression plan.
So these are 2 items. It's a time issue, which is why I'm bringing it to you tonight rather than waiting until the next meeting. And these are 2 items that have been up for discussion for quite some time and requested by our charter schools. You know, there are some things in state statute that we must provide in regards to services, and then there are things that lie outside of the scope of the statute. And so these are items that either the charter schools have had to look elsewhere in order to contract with outside agencies to provide, or the school districts has provided them and not collected fees in the past, which is something that we need to be collecting the fees for the services that we're providing. And so what you see are two documents. One is all of the services that are provided for purchase by charter schools, and then you have the attached fee schedule. This has gone through every department. I know Mr. Johnson spent a good bit of time working on this as well. He may be able to answer any additional questions that you have. But we would like to present these and get these to the charter schools as soon as possible. They're asking for these services, and they're waiting in order to get this document. I do have a meeting scheduled with them tomorrow, and I'd like to be able to present them a board-approved document if you so choose to approve it this evening.
So would you like to put them both forward at the same time, or can we do that? Do we have to separate them out? Since they're related.
They really go together.
Yes.
If we did it, we revised them, we'd have to revise
Both of them. Okay.
Okay, so I am recommending approval of the two emergency items, one being the services for purchase by the charter schools and the related fee schedule.
So moved.
Right.
Second for discussion.
Okay, second for discussion, Dr. Burns, go ahead.
So I just want to be clear. I know that the district and the charters, and I've talked with at least some people from charters, have been negotiating a back and forth agreement. Is this that agreement?
No, that is a separate agreement. So there's another one that is the maintenance agreement, and that one will come to you once Mr. Johnson's been working with their attorney on that one. That one has been completed. It's now in the hands of their attorney. So each charter school will have to complete that agreement individually, and then those agreements will come back to you. So you'll see that as soon as we get the signatures
So
from the charter schools.
have they agreed to this, or is this our proposal to them?
I think what you're talking about is the complaint that Imagine and Spring Creek filed with the Department of Education that has to do essentially with the provision of services to the charter school. They have not agreed on this. This is something that we were always going to do. We've had them in the past. The problem has been there's been a lack of understanding of the distinction between those services which we contract with the charter schools for and those services which we provide them under some other statute or federal grant, and those services which we provide free services for and don't get paid for any of them. There's an accompanying document that we drafted as part of this. It's informational. That's why it wasn't brought to you for approval. It's called Technical Assistance and Service Guide for Charter Schools. This is, and I didn't spend so much time as Elizabeth spent the time, and somebody from each one of your departments spent the time of trying to go through all of the various services that are provided by the district and whether they're as a result of the administrative fee, which requires certain things, that they pay as part of their tuition for some of their students. That number keeps getting smaller. And there's the different federal dollars that are distributed amongst all the schools on an equal basis. And then there are just things that we have done for years for charter schools that are not compensated for. What you passed or are about to vote on tonight are the services that are provided voluntarily by the district in exchange for the fees that you have approved tonight. We're under no obligation to provide these services. The probably exclusion for that there would be more confusion because of the conversion charters, human resources services that we mandate they pay for because we provide all the services since they're still technically our employees. A complicated thing that will be over, I believe, in 2020. But for tonight, what you were looking at were services like the services that Dr. Landry's department provides in some circumstances, the services that Dr. Wheeler's department provides for IT. All of those we have come up with a fee schedule that is not reflecting any more than cost, that will allow the charters to pick and choose which services they want to pay for. But what we've tried to do is make it very clear, and there's a contract that goes with it that demonstrates that if you ask for these services and we provide them, we expect to be paid for them at the end of the year.
And we have no obligation within this is not the 5%, and we don't have an obligation to any of these.
In the technical assistance manual, we go through and list, and to make sure that there's less confusion about the services they're paying for, we list, here's what we're giving you for your administrative fee. And it's quite detailed. The departments did a good job of going through everything and pulling it out.
The only comment I'll make is that 6 years ago when I visited our conversion charters and a couple of the charter schools, that this is something they've been begging for, and the superintendent being very proactive. I'm very grateful that this document, finally, we've got something. It only took 6 years, which isn't terrible, I guess. The other is that we are, and I think what Christy was actually asking before you went off on whatever you were going to talk about was the maintenance agreement, which has
been 20 years in the making.
Which has been 20 years, but we're on the cusp of that being completed, and I think probably by tomorrow that'll be done, maybe.
It's to them for their signatures.
Okay.
Now, if I recall on our scope of, what is it? I don't know what we call that. It's the listing of all the auditors' expected audits for the year. One of the items he had proposed there was an audit of charter school services. We're still on track for that, right?
Yeah, I know it's still in, he's here this evening. I know that was one of the items that he was interested in working on, so.
I'm interested to see based on.
Of that work,
right. I'm interested to see based on what he discovers through that, what other freebie services have charter schools have been receiving from the district. And so I imagine this is probably not a comprehensive list of all the places where we are expending our resources where they're not necessarily paying in with their own FTE dollars.
Sure. In the discussion, actually, I have a telephone conference tomorrow morning with the mediator and the lawyer representing the two charter schools who filed the complaint. And that whole proceeding deals with this, that they should have paid for something or they shouldn't have paid for something, and that there were things that were never billed and never paid for. So that's part of that whole proceeding that's going on. And this was what we told, we would get put together to be able to demonstrate, here's what we are doing, here's hopefully the way this is organized will hopefully eliminate any confusion about, well, they thought this was going to be Title I money, and it was really, they had to pay for something. So we show exactly what services we gave under Title I money and exactly what services that we're charging for.
Brilliant.
Seems like we need it.
Very much.
Where I was kind of thinking is kind of in the curriculum world. Our folks develop all the blueprints. Are there charter schools out there who are then using our blueprints, the work of our staff? Walk around at STEM Bowl, and there you have an opportunity where, once again, our staff have put that entire event together, and then another school comes in and participates and reaps those rewards and benefits without ever having necessarily paid into that system. So that's where I'm kind of thinking there are so many other places that charter schools are receiving benefits that they're not paying for. So I guess my question is, based on what Mr. Mock uncovers through that, I suppose this will just kind of be a starting point of a list of services that we might be able to offer, right? But there are others?
Potentially, yes, like some of the ones that you just mentioned, and some of those you're right, we don't charge for. There's actually a section in one of the documents that lists some other items that we do, such as the opportunity to participate in some of those events. So is it all inclusive? No, there are some things that we do because it's just the right thing to do, I think, sometimes for kids. And we'll continue to do that. But there are other services to which we absolutely are taking an enormous amount of staff time and costs that the district is incurring. And they recognize that. They've said, we know we've gotten some things for free and we know that we should have been paid, but we didn't have a process in place to really hold them accountable for that. And so that's where we are now, is getting a process, an invoicing process that Mr. Ward's working on that we'll be talking about tomorrow with them.
Well done.
Okay, definitely. All right, board members, I believe we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Perfect. Okay, we are now on the tentative approval of the 1819 student progression plan.
And in front of you, you have the changes that you requested from the workshop. Now, you made note of these as we went through on the day of the workshop, but I wanted you to know that those changes had been made.
Madam Chairman.
Sorry, I was looking at some of the changes.
All right.
Sir.
The matter before the board, which is the tentative approval of the 2018-2019 student progression plan, calls for public hearing. Is there anyone here this evening that wishes to speak to this matter? If so, please come to the podium at this time while the lights are still on.
Do a little mood lighting. It's not a bad thing.
I don't see anyone coming forward, Madam Chairman, and believe it appropriate to close the public hearing.
Perfect.
Wait, when do we?
Yeah, I'm going to have the superintendent make a recommendation. We'll do a motion, and we'll do a second for discussion if you're so inclined.
I recommend tentative approval of the 2018-19 student progression plan.
So moved.
Second.
Great. Second for discussion, Dr. Burns.
Wait, I hadn't turned the page. So
That's okay. I know. I was trying to figure out. I'm like, wait, I don't remember this conversation from last
I remember the conversation about third grade being extra hard to promote, and I think on page 102 is the fix. Is that correct?
Ms. Ellis is going to come forward, and she will go over any of the changes that you have questions about.
I apologize for the late fix on that. It was a last-minute catch that we didn't add that one piece about the alternative promotion criteria for our third graders that Mr. Dodd had pointed out specifically in the workshop. So I took the alternative promotion criteria that's the same at every other elementary grade level and added that to third grade, which was the request during the workshop. Because the only thing that was there before was the conditional promotion criteria.
Okay, I see it now. That's why, I hadn't turned the page, so I'm good.
I wonder if there should be an H on that one, that passing ELA and math might be one of the considerations.
I copied and pasted what was in the other ones.
Right, because the other ones,
They have H.
the passing the ELA and math would have been part of their standard promotion criteria. Okay, I think it's fine the way it is.
Right, and again, like the thought process behind that was that would be in case a student was being considered for retention for something other than reading, right? Their FSA.
I thought that we couldn't do that, what you just said.
No. All right, so I guess the H would be a passing FSA score would be the.
But
that's alternative.
So where it gets wacky is that what if you fail your math, or what if you fail ELA report card grade, but then get a passing score on the FSA?
What if you don't take the FSA?
Well, that's a whole other set of issues. But if you take the FSA and get a passing score on that, you haven't met the standard promotion criteria because you didn't pass ELA. So is an alternative promotion consideration that you actually pass the FSA?
I see what you're saying. That was the discussion that we had about them passing the test, even though they had failing grades.
That's right. Because
right.
You get an F in ELA, but then you show up and actually got a 3 on the FSA. You probably knew what you were actually doing, right?
Right.
But so the standard promotion criteria requires you to pass.
It's happening already.
So elementary's not my thing. I'm needing help. Phone a friend.
102.
It's the appendix for elementary promotion.
102, it's on page 101 where you're talking about the third to fourth promotion, where you have the two standard criteria, which is the report card grade, and then you see the FSA, language arts.
So you're saying a kid could fail everything? I mean, but we don't let that in second, but fourth grade. I guess we do have.
We do, because if you get an FSA score there, even if you failed your report card grade.
So weird.
So that's the only one where it occurs where you,
Where 179 days don't matter.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I remember very distinctly what you mean as a teacher that was told they pass.
that's right.
I mean, that's very strange.
Well, it is. But how do you
But it
attribute that
happens.
student making grade level proficiency on their state assessment if they didn't learn?
Put a lot of trust in the state assessments.
But the challenges I think you referenced is it is happening already, where we find students have failed a report card grade, but they have the passing score, and then we promote them. Under this, we would say, no, they wouldn't be promoted, but the practice is right? We need to make an individual decision on that child. So I guess I'm just looking for language that makes sure that you have the ability to make that decision, that you don't get tied up in a board policy that doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense.
So I think that we'd want some language that gave us a body of evidence to look at a student, right? And that's what you're saying. I think that we have to consider the child. You know, I think this is one of those cases, it does go case by case basis, but I would want language, and I'm sorry, I'm not necessarily
Is
tracking
the committee
language.
recommendation good enough? Like the fact, like.
I would want kids to pass, if they pass the FSA math test and failed math, I'd want to look at sort of what was graded, the kid as a whole, right? But I would want to have the opportunity, because it is true that until we can guarantee that every assignment was standards-based, we can't say that the grades represent learning of the standards, and we can say that the FSA at least is one checkpoint where they did master standards in that assessment. So I'd want to look at both, but I would want language that represents that.
Yes.
That's
Exactly where I'm going with that, yes.
Definitely think we have to look at both.
The language that,
I think that just CLEPing third grade is weird. I mean, I just don't think that should.
So does it, this is just a question, so if you read the whole sentence, committee recommendation with the principal making the final determination based on student performance in all grades level specific content area Florida standards, is that not
I think that
the
does.
assessment?
maybe that covers it.
I don't know, if you feel comfortable with that covering it, because it is content area Florida standards.
It does say Florida Standard.
I'm willing to interpret it that way.
You are willing to interpret?
Absolutely. You're welcome.
I do think we want to have an open opportunity to be able to look at every kid, right? So, and I think you've got some opposing opinions, but I think we want to have both represented here. We wouldn't want to stop a kid from going on. I mean, I think you're going to lose that argument if a parent says they passed the FSA assessment and all I've seen come home is this. So, on the flip side of that, I think we could have the other opportunity to be able to have some discussion around whether or not a student should be promoted based on their work if it really was standards-based the whole year. And so.
Right.
You just need to be able to make the right decision for the right child. And,
Right.
So you want a policy, but be able to.
And it's not that you want to sit the fence, it's just that you want to have a policy that sort of, depending on the child, works. We want to have high standards, but it depends on where you're looking for the standards, right? So we want to have opportunities to look at every body of evidence that we have, which could be a multitude of resources, but certainly FSA and grades being two of them.
So there should be an age.
Are we okay?
Well, no, I don't know that you need an H. I think your language is broad enough.
Okay.
Okay.
I think so.
I thought the same thing, and then I read that last time, like, oh, maybe that covers that spot, but we'll
Just
see.
kind of thinking through it out loud for the first time, trying to process it to make sure but I think it works.
All right.
Anything else in here?
I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else? Anybody?
Well, there are a couple of items that I brought up at the workshop, and I guess I understand this culture shift, and I'm willing to kind of let that culture shift play out. I think one of my tendencies is once I see a great idea, I want to jump into it and let's just do it. So that being said, though, there are a couple things in there that I don't know if they'd be terrible to insert. I'm just hesitant about teachers continuing to sign grades from the LSA baseline or the mid-year test, since both of those include standards that have not been taught yet. And what is the line in here to ensure that practice doesn't happen, such as I've seen from experience. I understand the quarterly assessments because those are standards that have been taught, but the baseline, the mid-year, those haven't necessarily been taught yet. And a kid comes home with a 65 and says, we haven't learned this stuff yet. So I guess there's that piece. I guess in the category of things that should not be graded, there's AR
Right,
tests.
I was waiting for that and spelling tests, I'm just going to tell you.
You know, it seems like a bigger bullet there. I mean, I'd contend homework assignments in elementary level should not be graded.
Not be graded.
Yeah, all the elementary questions.
So,
Oh, here comes Mrs. Pearson. You can feel free to use this side too, ladies, if you both want to be present. Okay, all right.
We've always sent out, when those assessments are released, direction to teachers, and part of the direction that those should not be graded, the baseline or the mid-year. So in doing away with the baseline, that's taken care of. But as far as the mid-year, it's always been part of the directions in terms of clear expectation that it's a measure of a whole year, so it's not fair to put that into practice. So we will continue to do that. I don't know if it belongs in this document or if it just needs to stay with regard to the directions that we send or expectation. We can add language if you feel that strongly about one assessment, but then I think we open it up to all assessments with regard to what can and can't be graded.
well, we've already given a list of bullets of things that you can take grades from. So, I mean, thinking of the teacher, I mean, where we give examples and non-examples, I just thought it'd be a great non-example.
I tend to support Mr. Dodd that if he knows specific examples where it has been used and you've been given a directive not to use it, then it sounds like somebody isn't listening, so maybe it needs to be in writing. So I support you on that one.
Well, and I was going to say too, I know that 100% the literacy coaches are told every year that accelerated reader is not to be graded, and that's still being graded as I sit here and breathe. So listen, I've been in meetings where I've told people things and I go back and I say, and they're like, we never knew that. I'm like, I said that, but anyway, I never, you know what I mean? So I hear what you're saying about the whole more government, more rules, more things to follow, but if it's
communicated in writing, it is communicated via email in writing with the packet. But if you want it in terms of the student progression plan, we can add some language around that.
I think that'd be amazing.
I would, I mean, because we're not creating a new policy, a new level of policy. It already exists.
Can you
We're just trying to
put a section
communicate
that
it.
says non-examples, and then you can just list mid-term LSA and accelerated reader.
May not be taken from the following.
What did you say?
Well, I think you just go under the bullet that says, you know, grade.
I might do a happy dance when we leave here. If that is added, I'm just going to say that I am that passionate about the use of accelerated reader, especially before we only had 7 grades and 2 of them each semester were based on that accelerated reader program. And it just,
I heard you say, though, in one of your statements that you sent out to them and said that they should not, maybe it should say, rather than should not, you will not. And then it doesn't give them any words of black and white. It's right here. It's no gray area. So
I think we have to look at the contract language too, as we make these changes, because I think they do have some flexibility with what they choose to grade. So,
You're talking about the teacher's contract?
yeah.
But that would run counter to what you just send out already, right?
If you sent a directive out, wouldn't you have already gotten some pushback if that was the truth?
We haven't had pushback on the mid-year, but I think when we start listing different types of programs, we might need to be a little bit more weary and maybe talk to or take a look at that to see. I know there are some pieces within contract language that speak to teachers' ability to choose what they grade. I have no reservation with putting it into the student progression plan. I just want to make sure as we put it in that we check all of those areas and don't make an assumption.
So Mr. Dodd knows that I agree with his position. I'll be honest with that. But he and I are a lot alike. When we know something's the right thing to do, we just want to kind of forge forward quickly. And I've learned that this does take time because we started with a conversation for the first time a week ago about changing practices of grading and really looking at what we're doing and giving kids in terms of assignment and then and determining their mastery of standards based on some of the things that we're giving. And so we're headed down this path, and I know that it's going to take some time, I think, to start throwing a lot of things at it, like don't grade homework and don't, while which I would say 100%, I would love to put in there. Let's not grade homework, that we need to have a solid homework policy. And, these are big items that I think require a lot of conversations with teachers, a lot of philosophical conversations, a lot of buy-in before we move forward, which is why we just didn't jump right into the whole change in a grading scale, because it takes time to build capacity and understanding. And so I think that as we launch down this road of grades and really having these conversations, I think that this will certainly be included in the conversation about what is best practice in terms of grading, what should be included, what shouldn't be included. And so I think we get there. I just don't think we get there today, because I don't think that's the right thing to do for teachers, because I think we do have some training to provide and some conversation. And so that's what we said a week ago. This is the start of a conversation. And so I think we need to let the conversation begin and see where we are.
But didn't we just say two things? I just heard two things. I just heard we're not going to do the midterm thing, and we're not going to do the, what is it? Happy Feet? Accelerated Reader. Just two. I'm good with that. and then get into your homework and all that stuff down the road.
And stop waiting one assignment worth 50% of a student's grade. Yeah, that's the other one I got on my list.
Okay, stop. I'm going to give you two. I'll give you two.
Seriously,
That's it.
we won't even allow a state EOC to be worth more than 30%, but an elementary school kid could take one test and be worth, or middle school, that's the example I've got printed out. A middle school kid takes a test and it's worth 55% of the grade.
Now you're pushing those.
I mean, talk about high stakes. There's just no opportunity to recover from that, I
agree with you.
But maybe this line about
three things.
well, no, maybe this new number 5 might fix that. Schools are encouraged to assist students with grades by the redos, the resubmissions, that kind of thing. That might resolve it.
Yeah. And so we
but-
believe in your philosophy. We just
Well, I appreciate
have to
that.
make sure all documents align with regard to what we're saying. So that's the only reason I bring it
So
up.
where I'm having trouble connecting the dots here, though, is that you said that you already send out that teachers can't do these things, but we can't put it here in this document because we're not sure if the contract prevents us from doing it. But we're already telling them to do it or not do it. So
That as a grade, because it is a summary of a whole year snapshot. That is what we say. They should not.
But we can't put it here because we haven't checked the contract to make sure that that's okay. But we're already telling them to that's where I'm just getting the struggle here on me processing this.
Recommendation is different than a mandate, and so.
Okay.
But are they mandated to do standards-based instruction, and there are standards that have been taught already that year and standards that have not been taught? So don't our grades reflect anyway that we can't grade something that hasn't been taught? I just talk in a circle? Do you know what I mean? But we already do that. We do that.
If we are using a midterm test where the student gets a 60 because part of it they haven't even been exposed to yet.
Right.
And we're actually using that.
Right.
Then it is common sense that we should say, do not use it.
Right. I agree.
I don't know why we keep going around in circles. Is it because we don't want to add it to this document? I don't know. It's up to you.
I thought there was a statute against it,
Against what? Using that?
against using the benchmarks.
I think you have to give them grade level expectations, but it doesn't have the cutoff because there's no
Not
stat that just says you
grading them,
teach
Not using the
this and
benchmarks,
this
but
and this.
grading the benchmarks. I thought there was a statute. No? Do you recall one?
I think you'd have to grade it in order to see where they
Well,
needed help.
recording
Use
the
it
grade?
as a grade.
Recording the grade is the problem. Or
Recording a grade on stuff that you've already been taught is fine. Yeah, so those quarterlies, which are you calling those benchmark? What are you calling these quarterlies? I don't know.
Quarterlies.
Just calling them quarterlies. They're not benchmarks, or are they?
Quarterly benchmark.
Quarterly benchmarks. Okay, so those benchmarks, they're okay because students have been taught that material in that quarter, and of course they're kind of there's nothing new. Right.
What has been taught and a summary of what has been taught. Correct.
Right. I think where it just gets slicey or dicey is this mid-year because there's some stuff the kids have been taught and there's stuff that kids haven't been taught. Those benchmarks, those should not be graded.
And so let me speak to about the 55% weighted grade. So that is something I think that absolutely lends itself to professional development. So did you realize that when you just put this, you weighted your test this much and you only put one in, that took your scale and went like this? Like that could be a math lesson that we do. I don't know that there's coaching on don't use the midterm assessment. You haven't taught those standards yet.
So we will accept the board's recommendation, but I want to make sure that I'm not promising and Ms. Sullis is not promising something that we cannot do. So we will check the other contract to make sure that we are within guidelines to be able to say cannot versus recommendation.
Okay.
Is that, Are you?
We've got a couple of contract experts in the room. Would it be okay
I
to
was
defer
wondering,
to
can we
them?
just ask-
Maybe they know the answer instead of.
We got an attorney right now.
I mean,
We have an attorney.
we're going around in circles trying to invent this.
Can I?
All right, Dr. Weiskopf is going to answer that.
Do you want to come over here? You guys are all like hovering around the one microphone.
They're scared of you down there.
I know.
Safety in numbers.
I can't wait to hear this, though. You should know.
So I asked Mr. Farnsworth to peruse the contract, and as far as we can tell, there isn't anything in the contract that says that we can't ask them not to grade a particular assessment or something. I guess I want to caution you is that it's always, it's all in the way we say things, right? So we can say, here are some things that we recommend grading, or we can put in a lot of you can't, all right? I realize you're only asking for 2, and I get that. So I guess my question is, we have, I think, over several years, and I use we lightly because I wasn't here, but over several years, we've told people not to grade them, and people still do it, right? So again, it's going to be really a messaging and a more of a belief than it is going to be a mandate, because we can put it in this document, and I'll be honest with you, we can't monitor 3,000 teachers, whether they will or they won't, unless a parent or somebody comes up and says, that my child's teacher did this and it's on this page. But they could do the same thing currently and go to their administration and say, why are we grading these? Or call us at the district level, and we would say, they can't grade them. We've already put it out that they can't. So I'm not sure that putting it in the document is going to necessarily change behavior. So, because I think it's going to take it over and over again, and then us really talking about it and why you wouldn't want to grade it. Does that make sense? We'll put it in there. I don't know we're going to get the result that you want in terms of 3,000 people are going to comply. Does that make sense?
My thought is that this document and the code of conduct are the 2 documents that parents refer to. Like, these are the big ones. And so I refer parents to the student progression plan.
When they come to defend their child's grade or something, this is
It
what
needs
they
to be
use.
in there. Now I'm more convinced than ever. If
So-
we've been saying it forever and ever and ever, and they hadn't done it, then the parent needs to be protected and protected their child, that it's in the document, you shouldn't have used it. Boom.
I agree.
So you want a section only in elementary, or do you want to say AR, and then you want the section for elementary, middle, and high to have mid-year LSA, and it would not have AR, correct? So it would just say you may not use the mid-year LSA as a grade, because that's really just the sentence in middle school and high school that you would need to have, right?
Is there a mid-year LSA in elementary? There is, right?
Yeah, so elementary.
Yeah, elementary would have 2 statements, and middle and high would have 1 statement.
I haven't seen accelerated reader used like I have in the elementary schools and the middle schools, but I'm not at all of the middle schools either, so I don't want to speak to all of them.
Is there a way to, and I'm probably opening a can of worms here, is there a way to separate the standards that were taught in the first semester, because there is value to those and grading those if they're reflective of what this child has learned, and then, so you have a kind of a formative, summative approach to standards. This portion of the test is for baseline data to determine what needs to be taught between now and the end of the year.
I got it. This is brilliant. Okay, number 7. Number 7. All right. Grades, the current language in here in your proposed with all the purple and blue and all lines, currently, the way I read it, says grades will be based on current Florida grade level standards with a minimum of 9 grades per grading period. At the end of that, say, no, you don't even have to call it out. Grades per grading period that have been taught, right? The standards that actually have been taught. Put that in there, that have been,
Isn't that what she was sort of asking for? But
so then,
And you certainly can. Back to your question, and I'll come back. So you certainly can, in performance matters, you can differentiate. A teacher would say, I know that I've taught this one, and they could actually make a grade based on what they've taught. We wouldn't do that at the district level necessarily, flesh them out, because it would kind of depend on where some people are in the scope and sequence, right? So there's an expectation of where you're at, but I wouldn't want to hold a kid accountable for a teacher who didn't get quite that far.
Right.
So we wouldn't do that at our level, but you could do it at the teacher level. So again, you're leaving it up to some teacher choice, but there is a way to do that.
What about the psychology of the kid who is presented with a test that has 25% of stuff that they've never seen before and just says, and starts crying? Like, I once took a test for college for Spanish and walked out of it because I didn't know Spanish and was not, I mean, I knew high school Spanish and should have passed the high school portion of it, but didn't realize that it was meant for people who were fluent as well. And that I was a grown-up.
But I would think a teacher would give some sort of preface before they're about to administer a test where they know the students have not been exposed to some content. They would normally preface that with, some of this is material that we've learned and some of it we have not covered yet. Do your best, right?
Unless they're going to grade it, and then they're going to say, you should do your very best on this period.
Well, no,
And
because-
I'm going to give a caveat.
No, because
that
number
you-
7 would say, based on
Who just put their heads down and failed the whole thing.
based on current Florida grade level standards that have been taught.
But I
Can
don't
we
think
stay
you
with the
listen.
common sense part where
Yeah.
it's, if you hadn't been taught it, you shouldn't be tested?
Right. Well,
The
but here's
midterm
my-
isn't. That's
but-
2, right?
Just one.
Okay.
No, we're doing that. I want to see her dance, so I want the
Accelerated
dance reader.
I mean, just gazing into the crystal ball, we've already given direction, I think, to this administration to look for AR alternatives, right? So is this potentially the last year of that contract? Isn't it up in?
Oh, I would like.
I mean, that's really forward thinking here, but
You all get to see my happy dance. Oh, I'm just kidding. My concern with that is we can give, even if you talk about accelerated reader, you can give an accelerated reader test to a 4th grader that's on a 2nd grade text, and you can say, I've taught that standard 2 years ago.
So you're saying it's a good thing because it like could help
No, I'm
third
not saying it's a
graders?
good thing. No, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying with the line, the verbiage that he's trying to add, where you can say you're only going to grade things that you've covered. Well, it was covered 2 years ago, so we're good.
Yeah, I got it.
Not good. Not on grade level.
Right.
Grade level
current
standards.
Florida grade level
What I hear is
standards.
that we need a statement, back to that something that talks about, that we're not using it's very clear that we're not using AR and we're not using the mid-year LSA as a grade. I mean, that's really, I mean, we can certainly add that language in.
Well, I think if you go back to the whole point about a parent being able to advocate for their child, the more simple we can say it rather than trying to embed it or not point. I think that you're going to give them.
That way they will come back and say, it says very clearly right here.
That's right. Yes.
Which is exactly what it should do.
Right.
And can we say that a grade can't, like one single grade cannot be worth more than 30%? I mean, I'm fine with 9%. But we know that grades have to be worth. 30%,
I think that
I think is huge.
I agree
as a
with
college
you.
teacher.
I agree with you, but I can think that teacher probably didn't realize. I know you said you pointed it out, or somebody pointed it out.
Lengthy debate.
But until that point in time, I could see that teacher going, well, it's not. My tests are only this percentage. They didn't understand that when they didn't put the other grades in, that it made the weight of that test much greater. And I'm not supporting that. I just know that could be something we need to coach and provide professional support on because they don't understand it necessarily, or they're not seeing the.
Okay.
I just don't want them to be like, oh, I did only put.
But I
30%.
feel like you could have that statement and
You
then
could.
there could be a discussion.
Right.
It's not like a you get fired statement.
Right.
Like it's just a discussion with the parent and the teacher.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. One test shouldn't be 55% of a student's grade. Period. Ever.
Now we're going to add 3 things?
3. Anything else?
I want to give them the freedom to go work on the culture.
Okay. But what does that do for this stuff?
Thank you.
So I want to be clear. So is that the language about the percent that an assignment, or are you just talking about a test? Or are you talking about any kind of assignment or what are you asking in terms of the percent? Are you asking that be in there? Are we just talking about that right now? I mean, I'm crystal clear on the other 2 pieces.
Well, I was lobbing it up
I'm
to see if there's
just not sure about
support.
this one.
I think there's
Well,
support.
I think you had support from the other day about this conversation.
I do too. I just don't know how you word that one either. No
No,
assignment.
no assignment shall be worth greater than 30% of the student's quarterly grade.
I think we need to,
You want to?
I'm going to recommend that we table that. I think we
All right,
need to have
hold
some
on.
conversation and think through that before we just.
Throw it out.
Yeah, I do think that we need to involve teachers in this conversation.
Table this whole document?
No,
That part.
this is just a tentative approval, so I'm going to stick with my original recommendation that we get tentative approval with an understanding that we are going to add language that says that the mid-year LSA is used for progress monitoring purposes only, and will not be graded. And then we'll have to figure out where we want to add that accelerated reader is used for reading motivational purposes.
What is the purpose?
I understand. Madam Chairman, if you amend it again, you start the time running again before it's finalized. Just wanted to remind you.
You mean Right, tonight?
So we need to vote on the amended version tonight.
If you don't, then you come back with amended language the next time, then we're doing a tentative reading again.
Okay, so
we
that
do that
means
now.
that the graded part, but you want to get teacher feedback on that, you want to have conversations.
On the
I'm okay
percentage
with that.
and those conversations, I don't think we're prepared to,
Okay.
that would need to table the whole document, and I would not recommend that.
There could be unintended consequences that I'm not thinking of, and I'm willing to kind of look a little bit on that one with the understanding that should we see results of that, then based on this culture that you're building, a parent walks into a meeting and they get nowhere with the teacher, then they have a follow-up meeting with the principal should have enough sense in that moment to say, yeah, I kind of see where you're going with this one, right? And then do some work on that.
Okay. So we have a recommendation. Do you want to repeat your recommend? I think we have a motion and a second for discussion though, too, don't we?
We did.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
We're going to amend it, though.
Yeah, I believe so. So we are going to,
We first vote on the amendment?
yeah. Should we vote on the amendment first? Okay, superintendent.
So just the two additional amendments.
Yes.
So can I recommend tentative approval pending with the addition of the amendments? That's not two separate recommendations?
It's for approval right now. If someone is part of that, we are discussing the motion that's been seconded. If someone is part of that discussion, wants to offer an amendment to the motion, then they can.
I made the motion, so I'll offer the amendment. The amendment is, she's going to read it.
Can I just tell you that I don't exactly have the language crafted just yet, but it will say that the mid-year LSA is used for progress monitoring purposes only and should not be graded. I don't like the last part of that, but we'll fix that. But it will say that it's not to be graded, that it's for progress monitoring purposes.
Okay.
Going to have to be awful close to that when you do it.
Not
I think
recorded as
whatever
a
it sounds
grade?
like is awful close
And not
to that.
recorded as a grade?
That sounded really good. So go ahead to the
Not
next one.
graded, it's pretty clear, right?
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
Okay.
Okay, number
All right.
two.
And then the second amendment to the progression plan will be that the accelerated reader is not to be used for grading purposes.
We call that the Stephanie Luke Act.
We should.
So that's what I said. So can we get a second?
So you guys have heard the recommendation on the amended changes to the pupil progression.
So moved on the amendment.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we'll give the second to Mr. Dodd. I think I already gave you one. All those in favor of the amendments?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, so now we do the pupil progression plan.
Now you
With the-
would, as the superintendent's going to give you a
Recommendation.
recommendation to
Yep.
approve it as amended.
All right.
So I recommend approval as amended of the 2018-19 student progression plan.
All right.
So moved.
Great. All right, all those any discussion?
Well,
Did he just say well?
I'm just looking at him.
ready to vote.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. Thank you very much. Phew.
All right.
Superintendent's report.
Ooh, it's here somewhere. We are off to a great start. I just want to thank everyone at the school level. It has been extremely smooth, and I just applaud the work of our teachers and staff and school leaders who've just done a tremendous job welcoming our students back, and we're excited about the year ahead. Also, want to remind everyone to go out and vote. That is tomorrow. No, that's not it. And also, we do have a few letters of condolence that went out. I'll just read those to you. Charles Bowles, the father of Catherine Falcon, supervisor of employee relations. He's also the father of Christy Zamora, who's an instructional dean at Treadway Elementary. And he is the father-in-law of Guido Zamora, the manager of evaluation and compensation. So condolences to them in the loss of their father. Condolences to Sean Thomas, custodian at Eustis Middle School, in the loss of her mother, Pauline Thomas. Sharon Niebert is the mother of Susan Emmerich, who's a program specialist in Region 1, and our condolences to her and her family. Joe Blair is the husband of Betty Blair, a bus assistant in transportation. And Teresa Burkhart, the daughter of Dolores Burkhart, who was a bus driver in transportation, passed away as well. So our condolences to her and her family.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Mathias.
So I'm going to acquiesce since I've made comments at the workshop, so I'm good.
Dr. Burns.
I wanted to thank Ms. Bartberger, the principal from Round Lake Elementary or Round Lake Charter School, for inviting me and Mr. Gamble out to tour the new wing. It's exciting to see anything new, but it's just exciting to see that we have a bunch of middle schoolers already working in the new facility, and it looks like it's going to be really successful. I wanted to thank Jim Miller. Miss Luke had mentioned it earlier, and when I asked him if he would help with the not amendment.
Referendum.
Referendum, thank you. With the referendum, he jumped right on it and said he would. I also wanted to thank Mr. Dodd for all of his hard work on the PAC that supported the money so that we could get signs for this. And I wanted to thank all the parents for their patience with any little snags that we had these weeks as we started school. And thank you to the Lake County School staff, because you guys have really responded very quickly to anything I've sent you, and we've been able to resolve those problems. And I actually really enjoy that part of my job. I like it when I can fix things. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Mr. Dodd.
Yeah, sure. Well, thinking about the start of the school year, it certainly has been a very exciting one. I know we have a number of new principals in our organization. I had the opportunity to spend some time with one of them on the south end this week. I feel like there really is a new sense of culture coming in that really looks for the doing what's best for each student and ensuring that we are going to be the best choice despite all the choices out there. That being said, one of the things that really stood out and made a strong impression were those teacher breakfasts. And, that's just a big kudos and thanks to all the chambers that do those. I had the opportunity to attend 2 chamber breakfasts on the south end. Man alive, I just cannot believe we used to fit all those people in that room on one day. Very, very lively group, and a group very excited to come back to school. I wish we have some pictures of those smiles that we could show them in April, and remind them how great it is to be there for our students. That being said, the return to school with this many students, we're always expecting to see some little quirks or hiccups to get worked out, and I'd like to extend a big thanks to the administration for addressing all those very quickly. A couple of the transportation concerns had come my way, and upon forwarding those, boy, I tell you, they were resolved like there was no tomorrow. They really happened quickly, so big thanks to Scott Fender and his team for working those through. I certainly know it's not easy to transport that many people any given day, so very well done. And just one final reminder that if anybody needs additional information before they go out and cast their vote tomorrow, they're certainly welcome to check our website that details how the money from the referendum would be spent and what the priorities are. We just have to remember who we're investing in. It's those students, and every student deserves to have a resource officer on their campus. Every student deserves to have access to a mental health counselor readily available, a school nurse on every campus. I just don't know how you could say no to those kids asking for those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dodd. Mr. Gamble.
Well, I'd just like to say I think the school year has started off well. It's also, I've been at all the schools in my district at least once, and some outside my district at least 2 or 3 times, and helping in the kitchen as well. And with the CEP program that we have in food service, it is a lot more kids are coming to eat. And so I would just ask that we make sure that we're taking care of the additional staffing needing because of the CEP program quickly before the ladies in the kitchen start pulling their hair out because they're having to handle a lot more than what they're used to. Also, in the future, when we bring computer programs and things and technology to the board, in particular, this one thing is called Mosaic that the food service program brought to us, and it was put into operation this school year. And the cafeteria managers were given about 2 hours of training and then said kind of go forward with it. And since that time, they have got some additional training that's went out, but it was like while school was going on and they're trying to work and everything, and it's a nightmare. The ladies are working hard. There's extra paperwork involved and a lot of time. And so I think we just need to look at a little bit more before we bring a computer program on, that we investigate just how much is involved and how much training is actually going to be needed. Also, I noticed in the video, Ms. Owens, the principal from Eustis Heights was in there, and the one thing I noticed was the technology that was on the board that the kids were using, that when Eustis Heights was built, that, Mr. Mathias, you were involved with that the touch screen and everything, and how they were able to integrate there with students, and I think that's great, and that's where we're going to with the teaching program and all that. The kids are able just to touch it and do whatever they need to do and spell or whatever. It cuts back on dust because there's no chalk. So we don't have to have nobody go out and clean the erasers anymore. But the other thing, too, is I think this program that we're doing here tonight, talking about trying to help our students, the thing is we want to educate our students and we don't want to penalize them. And one of the big things I heard in the topic tonight was grading them on something they have not been taught. My son in 4th grade was sent home some homework, and he said, "Dad, I need help with this." And I said, "Well, son, you're supposed to already went over it." He goes, "No, we haven't." Well, we had a little argument there to a point that I almost got ready to spank him because I felt like he was lying to me. So the next morning I went into the teacher, because I just happened to work at that school, and I went into the teacher and confronted her. And she said, "What page was it?" And I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "What page was it? What was it?" And I told her what it was about. She goes, "Well, we haven't studied that yet. The copy center sent the wrong paper." So, see, sometimes it's not the student's fault. Sometimes it's technology, which nothing against Mr. Creed. Copy center don't do that anymore, so we don't have to worry about that. But back in the day, that's sometimes what happened. We're here to help each student get properly educated and progress on so that they can graduate, and that's what our job's here to do. And I thank our superintendent and her staff for what they do and what they bring forward to us to try to get this to happen. We want all our kids to graduate, and that's what our job is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gamble. I can concur that it is exciting to have some of the conversations that we're having and seeing that conversation go in the right direction based on what's best for kids and based on standards. So I also just wanted to, again, I know we have sometimes a different audience for our evening board members, and just thank Jim Miller, every one of you, that all of the work that you did. I know campaigning, me and Mr. Mathias have had a lot of time to talk about it with constituents, and I know you guys have also done your share of work to promote that. Mr. Tibbetts, thank you for having us last week to come to your community and speak about that referendum. And with Mr. Tibbetts in mind, Mrs. Challenger brought forward that our community member that was on our sales tax oversight advisory committee had indicated that she wanted to not renew her term, and so Mr. Tibbetts has agreed to sit on that committee for us. So we appreciate your service. Yes, graciously done that. I think that is it. So with no objections, we are adjourned.
The happy dance doesn't happen during the meeting?
Being really close to what you said. We're going to start over again.
Just like this.
Probably.